Welcome to the SWBL podcast presented by 1356 Public House. And tonight I am joined by Scott Pohle, captain manager of the SWBL Yankees. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Brian.
Of course. Always love chatting with you and getting your thoughts on, your team, but also the league. You're obviously a front office member, so just fun getting together. We don't get to see each other as often in the off season, so fun to get there. We're gonna do your typical captain interview. We're gonna break down the roster, look at back at season 21, and then look ahead to season 22, and just have some fun talking wiffle ball.
I think that's great. Let's do it.
All right, cool. So first off, season 21, you guys were pretty good.
hmm
9-1. You had one loss. Do you remember who that loss was to?
You guys,
It
Saturday morning.
was to us. But man, 9-1. We talk a lot about how even 7-3 seems to be a kind of the ceiling a lot of times. 8-2 seems really, really hard. So going 9-1
Mhm.
is extremely successful year. Obviously, you're the one seed going into the playoffs, but you get to the championship against the Orioles, a rematch from the year before,
Yep.
and you face off against the Orioles, who and end up falling a little bit short there. So,
hmm
just thinking back on season 21, any moments, any things that kind of spark your memory, anything just comes to mind when you kind of think about the season in a whole.
It's good. I haven't really thought about it a lot. I think we, as a team, had a lot of fun. Like it was a really fun year for us, as friends. And I'm trying to think moments. I think we enjoyed doing I don't know if we'll make it a yearly thing, but the tequila Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
a Saturday, or is it Sunday?
I don't know. I drink that tequila and I don't remember much afterward.
It's usually in like a slow, like drudge moment and
Mm-hmm.
try to help the morale of everybody, which spurred out of just like a serendipitous moment. So it's fun. I don't know if we'll make it a yearly thing, but that was fun. It's always fun
Yeah.
getting everybody involved. Trying to think if there's anything else that was fun from that year. Um, I remember being really hot on Monday. Monday was
Mm-hmm.
hot.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, other than that, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, it's fun to win, and you won a lot.
Mhm. Yep.
So, yeah, there's not much else to say. I know you're hoping for a similar result, maybe with a better ending this
hmm
coming year. But let's look at the roster. Nothing also has changed there. You got the same
Yep.
four back, yourself, Gus, Kevin, and Sammy B coming back.
Yep.
The I can't remember all off the top of my head, but you guys, all four of you get ranked in the top 10, 15, 12. I can't remember exactly where everybody fell. I feel like Kevin made the top 10, I think, for the first time. And I think Sam was like maybe just outside of it. So obviously a lot of firepower, a lot of talent on the team. Don't
Yep.
really need the depth. And yourself, being the first Triple Crown winner we've had in a long time. So
hmm
it's funny that you're like, man, I don't really remember a whole lot or anything, but you had just a great year. So congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Um, yeah, so there's not much to really talk about when it comes to the roster other than I guess the question is just how do you keep going with this? You've had back to back, well, really three straight great years. Um, how do you just keep the energy, keep the momentum, the success up?
Yeah. I mean, it goes, we'll just take it year by year, you
Hmm.
know? Uh, we were chatting just a little bit before this, and you know, the only time really me, Kevin, or Sam pick up wiffle bats for the wiffle ball league, and so you kind of never know how you're gonna do for that year,
Hmm.
and so Sam had a child this year, and so he's definitely a full-time dad, so who knows
Hmm.
how that will affect. But it's always fun to have a reunion. I think we are friends, and so we just like being together, and I think that helps. overall that helps when you're excited to see one another. And, right now the football league's like the excuse to do that for all of us collectively, to be
Yeah.
in the same place.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, all four of you live in different cities now at this
mhm,
point too, with Kevin moving to Nashville. And
yeah,
so yeah, I mean, I know you guys travel to see each other as much as possible, the four of you,
mhm,
and everything, but it does make it harder to, as things happen, as families change and grow.
yeah,
So the wiffle ball weekend becomes that vehicle, like you said in the news thing. I loved that
mhm,
quote. It's the vehicle for the friendships and for the really the family that we've built there. But one
yeah,
thing on I think about your roster, and you were kind of, even though nothing's changed, it does feel like at least the past couple years, it's not always the same guy who's really carrying the team. Last year,
yeah,
obviously, you were the powerhouse, really driving the team. And Kevin, I don't want to take anything away from him. I've said on record multiple times that in the end, I think Kevin is really the person who makes your team go because he's the
sure,
one who has progressively gotten better and better and better every year.
yeah,
And so that's showing now with the team success too. But Gus has a little bit of a drop for him. I mean, he
mhm,
still has a great year compared to
yeah,
a lot of players.
yeah,
But for Gus, it's one of his more down years. But then the three of you kind of pick him up. And so who knows, like you said, going into this year, if maybe Sam's down a little bit, but then, Gus is back up to what he's been before. And
yeah,
it does kind of change who becomes sort of the hero on your team from time to time, which is
yeah,
great because then you can kind of just all know that everybody's got your back. You can play together as a team and not feel the pressure of I've got to be the guy.
yeah, definitely. I think we all feel that. And that was probably, in some ways we probably should have recognized that more last year. Um, but I think at the end of the day, we just kind of trust each other, and it's like, hey, like we'll have your back, and if not, like we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Any any new things that maybe we should expect? Anything? I mean, Sam started pitching a little bit from time to time. Like,
yeah,
should we expect to see
he's a
him
pretty
on the
good
bump again?
pitcher,
He's not bad.
like
Yeah, he's done pretty
I
well.
I definitely think that uh if we come out and we're doing okay, then you'll probably just continue to see more Sam, and it's not like we're throwing a game if Sam's pitching. I think
Right.
the pitching rules of the gun kind of changed and kind of leveled out the playing field in some aspects, in some ways, I think,
Hmm.
or just changed and so I think that has changed, our approach of just like, oh wow, like I like for me, like I can pitch, like like I was just always
Hmm.
like, I'll do it, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, now there's at least last year, who knows what this year will bring, but I think there's anybody can, you know, figure it out, and if we have the flexibility to do that, then Sam's going to continue to do it, and he likes to do that, so it's like we want to give him that ability to pitch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's something like you said, it's something a little bit different than what he's typically done over his career.
Yeah.
So it is something fun to do. You're
Mhm.
involved more in the game and all of that. And if you're having success with it, it's even more fun. When you're not having success with it, it is not fun to be on the mound
It's not fun.
by any means. But
No.
yeah. So well, let's start jumping into season 22 a little bit, and let's talk about the division. So again, another thing that really hasn't changed for you is the same division. You're in the Ketty Eye
Yep.
Center division with the Marlins and the Expos. So when the draw came out, I know you guys draw early in that tier one. But then
Mhm.
as it kind of fell,
Yeah.
like what were your thoughts on having the same division?
I feel like we're always in the Expos division. Like this
Hmm.
goes back predates. Like I feel like and I like that. I like the Expos. I like they keep it light and they keep it loose. And the Marlins are like the same way. They're younger, so they're definitely more like hungry and more competitive in some aspects, historically, but then both of them, I guess the Expos really just like, Sam Eichenlob, I think that's who that is. Like he's gonna probably get more. time this year,
Hmm.
and the Marlins will keep trying to figure it out, but they've gotten better every, like this is no sleeper division that those are good teams, and
Yeah.
if I think if the Expos kind of figure out their formula again, and then they are always on the precipice of robbing teams of
Yep.
games.
Yep.
There's just always, can they get the last out or the last inning? Can they uh bring that in? And maybe this year they do, and they're you know kind of a spoiler team. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talk about it every year, but how much more parity there is in the league than there used to be. I mean, it was almost always where you knew the five teams that were going to make the playoffs every year, four teams, whatever it was back then. And, you know, you still have your top tier teams that everybody's chasing, but you've got four to five to even six at times teams that are in the running for those wild card spots. And, on paper, everybody's kind of writing the Expos off. But when you look at those teams that are in that tier two and tier three team, uh, they've won a championship and
yeah,
recently. So,
yeah,
they don't maybe win the way everybody else tries to win with big numbers and big power, but yeah,
yeah,
they can win, they can steal a game, and I know that people don't like to face Jimmy. So,
right.
you know, so they have an edge there too. But, you talk about being with the Marlins again too. You guys got a lot of family connections and between those
Oh
two
yeah, it's
teams
always
too.
yeah.
So there's
There's you throw that wrinkle into it. There's a
yeah,
whole, you never
the
know what can happen.
Yeah, and a little bit of a rivalry maybe starting to develop because of those connections, and I would say a fun rivalry, not like a not a
Yeah,
I have to beat these guys and I can't stand them kind of thing. It's more
no,
of, that family pride. I want to be able to say something at a dinner table one night and that be the thing. So I like that it broke out that way. I do, it always is fun to play different teams at the same
yeah,
time,
yeah.
um but yeah, so well, also like on the schedule, when I was kind of looking at your schedule, now have you really dove into your schedule
No,
much
I
this year?
haven't.
Okay. Okay. So here, I can try to break it down for you real quick.
All right.
So you start off on opening night against the Orioles in the rematch of the championship game, and then you've got a pretty balanced Saturday. First game's at 9:30 against the Astros, and then you've got the Twins, the Expos, and the Rockies that day. You've got another game, four games on Sunday against the A's, the Marlins, the Expos, and the White Sox. And then on Monday going into the playoffs, you've got that second Marlins game.
Mhm.
So when you're kind of looking at that, anything kind of stand out, any like runs of certain teams or any specific game that you kind of have circled that's like, hey, this is either really important to our season or this is just going to be a big game.
Yeah. I think the division's always important, so
Hmm.
division games are definitely important. I mean, I think the big thing for us is, at least right now, not being able to play two games on Sunday going into playoffs to play two more games, hopefully, or
Yeah.
three if you're the wild card.
Yeah.
And that'd be a 5 game Sunday, which is just, I think last year we didn't really realize the detriment of that. And
Hmm.
I remember dunking in my head in the pool, like before the championship game, being like, man, this is gonna be, So I think just having one game, especially as we get older, it's probably a pretty big deal.
Yeah, for sure. And
Uh,
you don't, I think even 2 years ago we had to move our game, the Astros game. Was that 2 years ago that we had to move it from
yeah, we had to
this
move it to Monday morning.
Monday morning? Yeah, at like
We started,
6:15.
yeah, we
So that
started.
year you had five games too.
We had 5 games and yeah, that was not fun.
Hmm.
It was fun, ended up because we ended up winning, but you definitely want to avoid that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you
uh,
don't. Yeah. Luckily, looking at it on paper right now, I don't think there's really a chance that's going to happen to you this year. You don't have the last couple games on Sunday. I think you're the third to last game on Sunday and you're the
yeah,
third game on Monday. So I think you're safe this year,
yeah, yeah,
finally.
yeah,
So that's a good thing. But yeah, it does make for, a long day. Now it can help some teams, maybe that wild card team who's fighting for that playoff spot. If they rattle off some wins, we've talked about the hot team getting hot, and
yeah.
maybe it
That's a
does
real
help
thing,
somebody.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe it does help somebody, but
our
uh,
first championship in the franchise era was we were a wild card.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
What do you think about that rematch of the championship on opening night?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just another game, you know.
Yeah,
It'll be, I mean, we played these guys a million times, so
yeah, right.
that's
Yeah,
like,
it's not like you guys don't have history with the players too, so
yeah. So it's always fun though. I mean, you want to, play good teams, and I think yeah, so yeah.
yeah. Well, I think I like the way that Sam slotted it. It's the second game that night, so it's right after opening ceremonies. And so
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
ideally most of the team, most of the players and teams are there to watch
Yeah.
it. And, it's an exciting, fun game, usually high powered. And yeah, so I think from a scheduling standpoint, it looks like a lot of fun the way it kind of
Yeah.
slotted out. It's not, a kind of random 8:45 game one day and all
Mhm.
that. So, all right, well, let's do some predictions. I'm gonna have you predict the winners of the other two divisions. Okay.
Okay.
So in the Cardinal Blinds division, you got the Orioles, the Rockies, and the A's.
Um, that's probably the longest someone's taken right there to answer that one. It's definitely going to be the Orioles,
Okay.
especially with Jackson.
Yeah.
I yeah, a lot of thoughts there, but I definitely don't see that train being able to be slowed down. I think there's a good chance they could even go undefeated unless they just throw a game.
Yeah. Well, let's hope
Uh,
they don't do that.
so
But
I think they have a good chance of going undefeated and win the championship pretty easily. So
yeah,
which is a shame because I think John was building a pretty good team. So
I do too. Yep. Yeah. All right. The corner pub and grill division has the Twins, the Astros, and the White Sox.
yeah, I think I mean speaking of John, I think that division was really interesting when the draw happened, because you're
Hmm.
like, wow, like yeah, I think at that point people knew David was on the
Yeah.
um until you said, well, they finally got that second pitcher,
Hmm.
and um, but I think Jackson leaving, I think they signed somebody, and I think that person's a really good player, but really good player plus Jackson plus everything they had probably equaled a really good run for them.
Hmm.
Um, but without Jackson and especially leaving so late, I don't think they recover, and so I think it's really a Twins and the Rockies are an interesting
Astros.
team.
Astros.
With Astros.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, still, you guys are always an interesting team. Y'all are always right there. I mean, you beat us first game last year. I
Hmm.
think you have the ability to beat anybody, but I think the Twins they'd probably squeak that out. Do you know if Edlo's playing this year?
I don't know. I've heard rumors, I keep hearing things like, oh, he'll play if he comes
Yeah,
or when he can come. So I don't know if he's got something going on
yeah.
and he might make sporadic
I mean that
shows,
also
but yeah, so I don't
that
really
yeah
know.
that variable also affects. I think it's just morale, like a team like with like the Twins, they're so steady,
Hmm. Yeah.
and Edlo is like such a beloved person,
Yeah.
and such a fun person to be around. It's like you have Edlo lists. How does that affect the team at all? Because Will, I think for a while he was like batting 1,000
Yeah.
last year.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
a
He's
pitcher.
he's gotten he's a great pitcher, gotten more at bats
Yeah,
over time, but never been, really playing in a full-time hitting role.
yeah,
But I think he's kind of shown that he could be successful over
yeah.
a full season. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of complexity in that. You guys in some ways are like the most. I mean, did you guys do anything crazy in the offseason I don't know
We lost players. No, we didn't do.
about?
No, I mean, really, we lost David.
Okay,
He decided to sign with the White Sox, but then we,
right.
we've kept the five that we had six, so we kept the five that we had. Jimmy's gonna
Yeah.
slide into that number two pitching role.
Who is?
Um, Jimmy Stout, and he pitched great last year and has
Yeah,
pitched
Jimmy's a
before.
stud. Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, nothing really. I mean, I guess the biggest change for us is that I'm going to play more. I'm going to hit more.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that has been encouraged by my teammates.
Sure.
And I feel like I've earned it over the few, with my limited at bats. I feel
Um,
like I've done okay. So, but we've still got Caleb. Caleb's going to be off the bench. He's still going to play right field for us. He was really good until the playoff game last year. So,
hmm.
um,
I
so yeah,
think it'd be
we didn't
interesting to
really do
see
a whole
like
lot.
how having like less members of your team, if that actually could be a benefit to you guys. You know, everyone kind of knows there's more clarity in like what's happening.
Yeah.
Maybe it allows people to fight through something, and who knows. But yeah, I think overall, I think that the Twins are probably going to pull that one out. But there's definitely some, I mean, if you want to call them headlines or question marks or things like that. But I think most people have that right now. So,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Pick your two wild card teams then.
well, that's actually a really tough one. And I think something that's interesting about the league is I do agree with the like um I do think in some ways the league is the most competitive, but I think in some ways it's not, you know,
Hmm.
and I don't say that like demeaning at all. I think that's something that is gonna probably have to be addressed, you know, especially
Hmm.
with the most recent uh probably biggest news. It's definitely a top heavy league. And so um, I think, yeah, we already talked about it. I think if Jackson stays on the White Sox, I think that narrative is not as heavy. It's not as crazy.
Yeah.
But I do think that my three teams within that would be, um, I actually have no idea, Brian. Who knows? Um, it's actually really, really hard.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I think you can make a case for any team.
I think you can. I mean, I'm just
You
thinking
can.
about it. And I haven't really thought about this. So I mean, it really put me on the spot of just like who could do it, and really most teams can do it. I
Yeah.
think, um, I would, even though they're my league brother and the Expos, I don't think they're going to be that one team.
Hmm.
I don't think the A's are going to do it, especially with Alex and Paul not being around. Um, that's just identity.
Hmm.
And then you have the uh, Astros, White Sox, or well, yeah, White Sox, Rockies, and um, Marlins for two. And I mean, I think last year was like it came down to the wire with those
Yeah.
four teams, because Ty wasn't around for the first five games, so they went 0 and 5, but then
Yeah.
I think they won six straight or something, or five straight,
Yeah.
you know?
They won four straight and then ended up losing their last game. But even I forget, I think they ended up getting knocked out the game before their final game.
Okay.
So at that point, they knew
Yeah.
they couldn't make it in, and it was like I think it
Yeah.
was a run differential, honestly.
Which it
Thing. Like
usually
even if
feels
they
like it's
went,
coming
yeah,
down to
because even if
most
they
of.
won the game, they realized they couldn't get in.
Hmm.
So because of run differential, and it was a similar thing. But yeah, I mean, going
Yeah.
into Monday, there were four teams fighting for those two
Yeah.
spots.
And the A's, even the past 2 years, the A's, I mean, if you look back, I just remember the past 2 years, like watching the A's and them losing like one run game after one run game.
Yeah,
That like if they won those games, they were in actually the playoffs, you
yeah.
know? So I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know, Brian. I don't know. I can't make a decision.
Okay. Well,
I
let's
think
pivot.
those four, there's the biggest cop answer. I
That's
think
okay.
those four.
All right. Well, let's pivot a little bit. Sort of, kind of similar, I guess, but
Yeah.
power rankings. The fielding, hitting, pitching power rankings have come out, but the overall team power rankings have not come out. And so my
Hmm.
question is, where do you think you'll be ranked and where should you be ranked?
I think we will. I mean, it depends on when those votes were coming in, you know?
So the voting happened after the Jackson
Okay.
information.
Okay. Um, then I think the Orioles should be number one. but I think we're going to be number one because I think the front office doesn't want to rank themselves number one. And uh but um but yeah, I think we should be ranked number two. I think the Orioles should be number one. And then I think the Twins should be after that. And then it's just a dogfight for the rest. So
Okay. Well, I'm releasing the podcasts in reverse order, so we'll find
mm,
out when yours gets released. I guess that's when
yeah,
you'll maybe know. So,
that's when I'll know.
yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up most of the season 22 talk, but where it takes us to hard hitters. So, rapid fire edition. So, 10 questions for you, just for fun. Some are wiffle ball related, some are not. So,
All right.
all right. So, what is the final record for the Yankees in season 22?
I think fair 7-3.
Okay. Who is the team MVP for season 22?
I think Gus has a bounce back year.
Cool. What's your favorite show or what are you watching right now?
What I just finished watching was The Chosen,
It's
and
great, isn't it?
that was the best TV show. I don't watch a lot of TV. I try not to. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, but dude, The Chosen is unbelievable. Like
Yeah.
crazy good. So I'd probably say The Chosen right now. I mean, because I just finished it. I hadn't watched it, so I binge watched it.
Yeah. Did you
And
get through season 4, the newest
no, I
season?
haven't
Not
seen
yet.
4 yet.
Me either. I haven't seen a single episode of it. So,
So I would say The Chosen for sure.
cool. Um, who will lead the league in home runs in season 22?
I think it's gonna be someone from the Orioles. I think they're just gonna, yeah. I'll probably say Sam.
Okay. Who is your least favorite team to play against?
Play against. Um, I don't know if I have like a least. Like I'm like, oh man, I don't want to play them. I think I'll be bummed this year not to play the Athletics because Paul and Alex won't be there. So
Yeah,
just be a different complexity, you know.
right,
So
for sure. Yeah.
yeah.
They've been around the league for a long time, so it's going to
Mhm.
feel very different.
Yeah.
All right. What is your favorite tradition of your team?
Um, I would say I mean, the new team, which would be the last 2 years, we would be, that tequila thing that we've done.
Hmm.
Also, I don't know if we'll do it every year because then it's like a thing,
Yeah.
Also didn't help us in franchise of the year. We didn't get like probably a single vote. But so I don't know. I think that's probably the only tradition we have, really. I think. I'm trying to think. Or I mean, Gus isn't a part of this tradition, but usually in the morning games, I go pick up Sam, which is kind of fun,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Uh, or me and Kevin go pick up Sam. So
Yeah. Well, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, you guys have had a lot of late nights as a team, even with Gus when he was on the Royals. Um, and I'm sure those conversations and certain things that maybe happened,
yeah,
when everybody left were a lot of fun too. And um, yeah. And you guys have got to relax and have more fun, which, like you said earlier. So I'm sure there are things maybe you're just not
yeah. I
quite thinking
mean,
about, but
just the fact that Kevin can hang out and that we're
yeah.
not staying up till. I mean, Kevin would stay up till like 3 o'clock in the morning most, you know. So
Yeah.
I think yeah, maybe it's sleep. Maybe our like our favorite tradition is sleep.
It's perfect. All right. Who's going to lead the league in strikeouts as a pitcher in season 22?
I feel like Jimmy's done that every year.
It's been a long time Jimmy's had that kind of title.
It's kind of hard not to say Jimmy. I don't even know. I mean, unless Chad's in a hard, I mean, he's gonna be facing the Orioles and he's not going to lead the league in strikeouts because of that. So I would, I'd probably say Jimmy. Yeah.
Okay. Who will lead the league in strikeouts as a hitter in season
Mm.
22?
You know who did it last year?
Jimmy has also held that title, but I don't know if he did it last year. Um, BK
Jimmy.
maybe did.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know who did it last year, to be honest with you.
Hmm. You know, I would probably say someone on the A's because the pitching depth in that uh division is pretty deep.
Yeah.
So pick the worst hitter of the year for the A's and someone on the A's.
Okay. I
Whoever
hadn't
has the
even,
worst hitting year for the A's this year is going to lead the league in strikeouts.
yeah, I hadn't even thought through that. Like that's the first kind of logical thought through that. Most people just say somebody that they think will be funny to do it too. But honestly, like I hadn't thought about the depth there in that division, and the A's have four. So you can't
And you
sit
have
somebody.
four Cy Young winners on two teams.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
All right, good luck, A's.
So, and you have like the A's who are trying to figure out their new identity because, and that's all like hearsay, like whatever, it's wiffle ball, but you're still trying to figure it out without Paul or Alex.
Yeah,
And who knows, if you get it's a tough division. So,
for sure. All right. Who wins the championship?
Orioles.
Orioles.
Hmm.
All right, we're gonna play start bench trade. So from your team, you got to
Hmm.
start one player, bench one player, and trade one player.
That's everybody on my team, Brian.
Yeah. You can throw yourself in.
Okay. Okay, so I have to start a player. I'm gonna start Gus. I'm gonna bench uh I'm gonna bench I'm gonna bench I'm gonna bench Kevin. Sam's been the longest. You know what? I'm gonna start Sam. He's been the longest Yankee on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna bench Kevin and I'm gonna trade me.
You
There
could
you
still
go.
get a pretty good haul for you. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, that's gonna wrap up the Yankees captain interview with Scott Pohle. Real quick, I'll thank our sponsors: 1356 Public House, Cardinal Blinds and Shutters, Ketty Nice Center, Corner Pub and Grill, Spencer Gear, Chill Designs, Breck X, Everdolce Vita, Four Hands Brewery, Sway Dispensary, Logix, Johnny Pops, Ballast Dental Care, and Andy's Frozen Custard. Stay tuned for more content, guys, as we lead up to season 22. We'll have a season preview. We'll have, more of a in-depth breakdown of the power rankings. We'll see if we can slide some more content in if time allows before we get to the weekend. But yeah, guys, I appreciate you checking in. Scott, I appreciate you being here, man. It's always, like I said, fun to talk with you and catch up
Yep.
and everything. So with that, go ahead and get us out of here. What's on your mind?
Hey, I just appreciate you putting all this work in. It's a lot of work.
Thanks.
I know because Kevin did a lot of the media stuff, but this is a different side of it, and it's unseen, probably underappreciated. And thanks for all you do, Brian.
Appreciate it. Thanks, buddy.
Mhm.
All right. That'll be it, guys. See ya.